Hi, and good morning to today's LinkedIn Live event called But I'm Not Planning to Sell or Exit from My Business, and why I think using that mindset means you're probably going to miss out on thousands of pounds in terms of planning appropriately ahead of any exit. So, my name is Damian Connelly, and I'm the Managing Director of Secure Business Solutions. We're an accountancy practice. We have offices in London and in Dublin. But what I spend most of my own time doing is working as a fractional CFO for SME businesses, typically over £1 million or €1 million when in Ireland. And also then working with business owners who are considering or planning to sell or exit from their business so that they can exit for hopefully what is a life-changing sum of money. So you might ask, why me? Well, I've got more than 20 years of commercial experience working in SMEs, some of which are smaller SMEs and some of which are larger ones. I've worked in a £65 million turnover property services business, in a private equity-backed marketing agency turning over circa 40 million. But then I've also worked with a number of smaller businesses at the sort of 2 to 5 million turnover as well. And in terms of practical commercial experience, I've been involved in the exit process for a 65 million property business, which ultimately ended up with an £80 million offer. I've also been involved in setting up a new IFA or mortgage and advisory business in the UK, which was turning over £5 million within its first 12 to 18 months of activity. And I've also led projects which were setting up offices for UK businesses in Hong Kong, in Dubai, and also in South Africa. And on top of that, I've also been involved in acquiring a Hong Kong business as part of an expansion strategy for a UK marketing agency. So I've got quite a lot of commercial experience as a group financial controller, and more recently as a finance director in smaller SMEs, but also in a number of larger SMEs as well. So what I'm going to do today is to run through a few slides on a presentation and really just take you through the process and explain how to take you from not planning at all or not thinking that you need to plan at all for an exit from your business through to hopefully why I think it's a worthwhile thing to do and it's the right thing to do for your business. So having done the introductions, I just want to move on to some interesting statistics. Now, people sometimes say lies, damn lies, and statistics, but actually there's a lot of figures out there and a lot of numbers out there which broadly tell the same story. And they come from different sources, but again, they tend to point in the same direction. So I just want to take a few of them just to run you through them today. So only 30% of SMEs are ever in a position to sell or exit. Depending on the statistics you refer to, it could be anything between 80 and 95% of SME businesses for sale never sell. More interestingly for me is that 50% of successful sales or exits of SMEs tend to occur as a surprise, or they are an unsolicited approach that turns into a sale or an exit from a business. And something that I think I've probably seen, but also is quite shocking in some respects, is that only 2% of SME business owners have any plan at all in terms of the longer term future of the business or a longer term plan which may involve a sale or an exit at some point in the future. And finally, then there's always a really substantial chunk of SME business owners who trade for a number of years, but then ultimately decide to close or liquidate their business for nothing. And so I think what that tells us really is that selling a business is not easy. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's always going to be quite a stressful process, regardless of how ready or how planned you are. And it's always not at the forefront of business owners' minds. And again, there's a number of reasons why businesses that maybe have tried to exit or attempted to exit aren't as successful. And some of that could be through lack of planning at all, or it could be just circumstances or the wrong fit in terms of buyer, or a variety of other things. The prevailing market might be part of it as well. But I think the more important thing is really that for many business owners, the ones that decide to close their business or liquidate at the end of their 5, 10, 15 years of trading, or for those businesses that don't go through a successful exit, the reason for that is really you're talking about an income generating business versus a sellable business. Now, you can have a fairly successful business for a number of years, but it's generating basically an income for you during that period of time. And over that period of time, it's not converting into any value or into a valuable asset or a sellable asset. It's just a really good, really successful, but very much an income generating asset more than anything else. So I just want to run you through a few phrases, a few quotes, some of which you'll be familiar with, some of which you may not be familiar with. But begin with the end in mind is quite a familiar phrase or quote used in business. You should always be building to sell, even if you never do. Hope is not strategy. You want a business that is buyer ready and not owner reliant. Build a business that you can walk away from, not crawl away from. And don't build a job, build an asset. And the final one is every day you don't plan your exit, you reduce your options. So the reason I've gone through those quotes or those phrases is really just to point out that there's something about this. There's something about either planning for an exit or getting an exit ready, or at least having it in mind as you're developing and growing your business. Because if these are thought leaders in the business environment, or they're influential business leaders, and they're saying these, they're making these comments, they're making these statements to fellow business owners, there's something in it. So therefore the question is, should you be ignoring what these business leaders or these thought leaders are saying? And so therefore you may not have a plan to sell or exit. And the reason for that might be, some of the following. It's busy and it's challenging and it's hard running a business. And maybe at the moment you are busy running your business, you don't really have time for anything else. You're trying to get the next contract, you're trying to get the next sale on board, etc. Again, if you don't know what you don't know, for many business owners, they will only exit once in their entire career. So therefore, it's not a frequent event. It's something that happens very often. And if you and the people they're in contact with or the people advising you are not familiar with the process of selling or exiting, the steps involved, etc., then you won't know about it. It won't be a forefront of your mind. Therefore, you won't be thinking about it as you're building your business. Maybe you're busy running the business. Maybe you haven't had the advice that tells you to think about these things. But maybe also you just haven't thought about your future yet. You're focused on the here and now. You're not really thinking about 2 years' time, 3 years' time, 5 years' time. So you haven't really thought about that longer term element of your business as well. Again, I often hear from clients, I'm going to be working in the business for the next 20 years. This is not of interest to me. This isn't relevant. That's years away. So when we get to some point where I think maybe it'll be relevant, I'll start thinking about it then. I'll start worrying about where I need to start at that point. Finally, as I've said already, it's a challenging, it's an underserved in terms of advisory subject, and it's a complex journey and topic, and it's a long journey. Typically it'll take 2 to 3 years to plan it correctly, to go through all those steps. So it's a long journey. It's not something that you have to do on and off the moment. So I guess the point of this presentation today is really to turn it around slightly and say, well, should you be planning? Given all we've talked about so far, is there still a reason for you to really think about, should you be planning for a future exit, for a future sale, for thinking about, or at least starting to think about the future of your business, a longer term view of your business? And the reasons for that, I would say, is, well, are you planning to work or even to live forever? Very unlikely. Is your business your biggest personal asset? I'd also say, are you happy to leave money on the table and maybe not get paid twice, as I call it, when other business owners can and are every day of the week? Have you had a frank conversation with your family and friends? Has there been a discussion about the longer term, the medium term? You may have a plan for the medium term. How about them? How involved are you currently in your business? Are you involved in every aspect of your business? Or are you able to step away and let other people run elements of your business at the moment? Do you have options? Do you want options? Do you need options? And if someone came along tomorrow and made an offer for your business, would you be able to accept it? And do you think you'd be able to complete that process and have a successful exit resulting from that offer? And so the points I'd make on those particular issues is, whether you think you're going to live forever or not, everybody exits their business at some point. And in some cases, it might be through the door in a coffin, but in many respects, it'll be through ill health, it'll be through other issues that come up. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but in the longer term or medium term, something will come up that will mean you'll have to change your mindset because you can't and you won't be able to work forever. Also, for most business owners, their business is their biggest personal asset. So therefore, not planning ahead of time or not planning to sell or exit your business at a point in the future means you're not building on that asset, you're not protecting that asset. So there's actually a risk to losing that asset completely, which is your biggest personal asset. As an entrepreneur and a business owner, most of what you do to run your business is to get the most out of it and not leave money on the table. So why would you run your business for 5, 10, 15 years and decide that you want to leave money on the table? There's an opportunity to get paid a second time when you exit the business, but you're deliberately deciding not to get that money, leave that money on the table. As a business owner, does that feel right to you? And then if we go back to family and friends again, yes, everything might be fantastic at the moment. Working weekends, working long hours might be fine for the stage you are in your life, maybe for where you are with your family. But maybe in 2 or 3 or 5 years' time, one of your family members, your spouse, might turn around and say, I've had enough of this. When are you going to step back? Or when are we going to have our weekends and our evenings together? And are you going to be able to turn around and, yeah, I agree, but it's going to take me another 6 to 9 months to be able to do that? Or if you're planning ahead of time, you'll be able to say, give me a couple of months and I'll be able to do all that with you. And also, if you're very deeply involved in your business at the moment, you're involved in the sales, you're involved in the operations, the relationships, etc., how long will you be able to keep up that pace? As you get older, as you go into your 8th, 9th, 10th year, are you going to have to keep up that pace and keep being involved in all aspects of the business? Or at some point, are you going to have to say, I can't keep doing this? And then it takes another 6, 9 months, 2 years to be able to get yourself in a position to step back or to step away. And obviously, if someone makes an offer, again, wouldn't you like to be able to accept that offer and say, give me a couple of months, I'll get the information to you and you can make your decision as soon as you need to? Or you're going to have to say, hang on, I need to start at the start, and it's going to take me 6 months to pull the information together, to present it to you, and then to be able to explain it to you and to the level that a potential buyer would need. So when we're talking about longer term planning within your business, or planning for an exit, as I refer to it, there's 4 or 5 in my view, key pillars. And what these do is, even if you never sell, they're going to bring some resilience into your business. They're going to build value in your business. They're going to create a sellable business, an asset that's worth something to a potential buyer. You're also going to have a better business along the way. Once we go through and talk about these different pillars, I think you'll understand that the more you do, the more that you deliver on those pillars, you'll actually have a better business, which means that even if you don't sell, or even if it takes you a number of years to get to a sale or exit point, you'll be operating a smoother, more effective, more profitable business anyway. And that's before the higher value you'll be able to discuss or potentially get out of your business when you then come to sell to a third party. So what those key pillars are include owner involvement, i.e. how involved are you in the business and how much of that can we delegate to other people over time. Because the biggest killer of value within an SME business is owner involvement. The more involved you are in many aspects of the business, the less value a potential buyer puts on that business, because it's too hard to replicate. It's too hard to see what your absence from that business will impact. And so therefore it's about trying over time to plan and get you out of the business as much as possible. Tied in alongside that then is having a management team and a team structure. The more that you've got your management team in place, you can take some responsibility, you can take some decisions within guardrails, of course. And the more of a team structure you have where people know what they need to do around customer service, client delivery, running the finances, running the HR, building a pipeline, selling, the more you can build that in, then the more that allows you to step away and reduce your involvement in the business. And then obviously tied into that is having a set of internal systems and internal processes. So is there clarity about how people go about building the pipeline, how they go and find potential clients, how they move them along and hopefully get them to a point where they're buying your goods or your services? Do people know how to deliver consistent customer service? Do they know how to deliver the product or service that you're providing to your clients? Is there clarity about how the finances are run and managed and maintained? How are people recruited? How are they trained? How are clients onboarded? All of these are key to providing a consistent service to your clients and a consistent level of performance, which retains your clients and means then that you're not running around trying to solve a firefight here, firefight there, etc. And then again, tied into that is having the right software in place. In this day and age, you'll have your finance system, you'll have your CRM system, you'll probably have your marketing and sales system. So do you have them in the business? Do they tie into all of your internal processes and systems? And are your team able to run those systems and software to be able to run that business consistently, which means you don't have to be involved as closely as you might otherwise need to be. And finally, the financials. And what that means is, do you have your accounts from the last 4 or 5 years? Do you have your management accounts in place? Do you have your KPIs? Do you know where you're generating your profit? Which services are the most profitable? Are all your contracts that support your customers in place? Can they be checked and reviewed? Do your financials tie in and validate the story that you've told to the potential buyer? And if somebody checks all those details, will they find that everything hangs together? Risks are managed. There's nothing hiding in those figures that will cause an issue or cause any concern. And does it all validate what you've said and what you've presented and what you're asking for in terms of the value on your business? So all of these key pillars, absolutely important. That's what your exit planning involves. But if you think about it as well, all of this work will make a better business and a more profitable business for you as well. So why am I really invested in talking about exit planning, and why am I of the view that not planning is missing out on potentially thousands of pounds? Because being exit ready gives you fantastic advantages and opportunities that you just won't have otherwise. And so running down through those, I'd say it was about calling the shots. You're in control. So you can decide, yes, I have an exit in place, I have an opportunity here, and I can exit today if I want to. Or you can say, I'm not exiting the business anytime soon, but I'm going to step back and do 1 day a week or a few mornings a week. Or you can say, we're not exiting, we're going to continue. I'm going to continue driving the business for the next 2, 3, 5 years. You can call the shots, you're in control. The next thing I just say is options, options, options. As a business owner, why would you not want options available to you? You can sell, you can not sell. You can bring a CEO to run the business so you don't have to run it. You can have options in terms of how you might want to exit at some point in the future. Maybe you don't want to sell to a third party. Maybe you can sell to your existing management team who do a great job. You've got great trust in them. They're chomping at the bit to be able to take on the business and provide a little bit more of their own input to it. It's all about options. Why would you not want to have options available to you? Go back to my comment earlier about assets. The more that you are planning and preparing for an exit for the business, the more that you're building an asset in the business. With the management team, with you less involved in the business, with the systems, with the processes, you're building an asset that whether you are there or not, somebody will be interested in buying that. It will be attractive to somebody to buy from you. So you're building value, you're building a sellable business and a sellable asset rather than an income asset, and it's attractive to buyers. It goes back to that old image that I have about the box. What you really want to get to is you have a box that's all set up correctly, the corners are all tied in, and you can pick up that box and pass it across to the new buyer with the minimum of fuss and not requiring you to go along with the box, because most of what they need is already in there. As I mentioned already, being exit ready means you've got a better business. You'll have more profits now, you'll have less stress and involvement in the business, more profits now, but also increased value when you come to sell the business and get paid twice. How is that not a good option to have in front of you? If you're not closely involved in running the day-to-day business, then actually you're working on your business rather than in the business. And if you're working on the business, what that means is you can bring the skills that enabled you or got you to start the business in the first place to the business. So you can look at strategy, you can consider some opportunities that might be available to the business that you've got time to think about and time to investigate. Maybe you're fantastic at relationships with high value clients. You can spend more of your time doing that. And that's probably more fun for you because that's where your skill set sits. So being exit ready allows you to work on the business rather than in the business. And again, I've mentioned it once or twice before, get paid twice. Why would you not want to get paid twice? Get paid while you're working in the business, take out your income as you need it across the years you're working there, but also know that at the end of the journey, there's another big payment due to you and you're going to get paid twice because you've got an asset to sell on to a third party. Why wouldn't you do that? And so I started the presentation talking about, if you don't change your mindset from a I'm not selling business to a yes, I want to be exit ready and potentially be able to sell my business, you're missing out on potentially thousands of pounds. So I just want to touch on that. So if you get a surprise or an unsolicited buyer come to you and say, I really like your business, I'd like to buy it. And if there is nothing done in terms of planning ahead, looking at the longer term, doing any things we've talked about earlier, then potentially if you're £1 million or €1 million business that's say profitable to the tune of £300,000 per annum. And again, if we just use a very average 3 to 5 multiple, and if we say 3, basically you've got a business that potentially is worth £900,000. If you don't get that sale away to that unsolicited approach, you're missing out £900,000 because you can't sell the business. So think about it. Or if you're an owner who's still very, very involved in the business, and if, for example, you're paying yourself £100,000, so the £300,000 profit is after paying you a salary of £100,000, but someone comes along and looks at the business and says, you're very involved in the sales, you're very involved in the client relationships, you're very involved in the management of the business. To replace you, we need 3 roles at £100,000. So actually, we're going to value the business on 100,000 profits, not 300. Suddenly, instead of getting 900,000 for your business, you're getting 300,000. Potentially, you've lost £600,000. Another reason might be someone comes to look at your business, instead of paying 900,000, They look through the financials, they find some holes, some gaps, there's some risks in there, some unresolved issues. And even if they put a value on that and say, I think it's going to cost us potentially £50,000 to deal with those risks or those issues, then basically they're valuing your business at 750,000, not 900,000. You've just lost 150,000 through not spending some time and some investment earlier on dealing with those risks and those issues. 150,000. Or if you've not done the work and there's a lack of certainty around your revenue, or that you don't have enough of a recurring revenue happening in the business, or potentially it's non-recurring business, but there's no clarity on how you drive your pipeline, how you get businesses into your pipeline, and how you convert them into clients. So there's a real lack of certainty around how you're going to get business for the next 12 months and 24 months time. Again, a buyer will take a decision and say, I don't think we can achieve 300,000 based on what you've told me. I think we can only get to, again, 250,000. So again, they're going to value your business at 750,000 and not 900. You just lost another 50,000. And the last way you could miss out is if in 2, 3, 5 years' time, suddenly you have some ill health, maybe someone close to you in your family has some ill health, or there's a reason why you suddenly need to step back from the business. And you're not prepared, you haven't thought about it, you're not exiting your business, you're not planning to leave the business, you've done nothing. Essentially, you're making an emergency sale. So instead of selling your business for 900,000, there's an urgency to sell it because you have to step away. And if you step away, the business falls apart in many respects. It's an emergency sale. Maybe you get a couple of £100,000 for the business instead of the 900,000. So the impact of not planning and not having any plan ahead, or planning not to sell your business, could cost you thousands upon thousands of pounds. Any one of those is quite a normal or a regular issue that can arise or will often arise, and you can see the impact it can have in terms of the value and the money you might get paid when you need to step away from the business or when you need to exit. And that's not even thinking about the improvements you might make in the business, as we discussed already. If you can add another 50,000 profit into your business as part of some of those improvements, stepping away, having a management team, if you can add 50,000 to your bottom line, then actually the upside is the business has been valued on 350,000 at the point of exit, as well as gaining your 50,000 per annum over those 2, 3, 4 years. So the amount involved can be really, really substantial amount. So I guess my question to you now is, given what we've discussed, given what I've gone through over the last 20 minutes or half an hour, are you still not planning on selling or exiting your business at all? Or is this now giving you a little bit of pause for thought, and maybe there's a value to thinking about it, even if you're not actually planning on exiting? So is there a plan or a roadmap to help you navigate, know where to start, know where to go? Well, interestingly, I have a program or a plan or a roadmap to take business owners from where they are now through to the point of being exit ready, or being able to start discussions around getting an exit away, getting them in front of the M&A advisors or the business brokers. And I call it my asset rich and exit ready program. And essentially, as you can see there, it's 3 stages and 9 steps. And really, it's meant to be a relatively easy to understand process because, as I've mentioned, it's a complex and a long journey. So it's about trying to make it easy to understand for business owners. It's really about getting a clear end goal or target in place at the outset, and then giving you then a program or a roadmap to go from where you are now to the point where you have maximized as much as possible the value of your business. And that means maximizing the value of your business, maximizing your options at that point, whether you sell or not. It's about minimizing the stress. It's always going to be a stressful process when you're looking at selling or exiting from your business. But the more planning you can do, then hopefully it's a little bit less stressful than it otherwise would have been. Minimize problems. If you catch those problems before anyone else looks at them, then you're minimizing problems and potential issues when you get to the point of selling or exiting the business. And the final point is, following a plan or following a roadmap means that what quite often happens is maybe the first buyer doesn't quite get to the end point, but the business runs in a way, in a fairly successful way, that it can withstand a deal not going through, continue trading for another 6 or 12 months, and then you can go through another process. So it's about maximizing the upside, minimizing the downside, but making it relatively easy to understand and easy to follow roadmap. And it usually takes, ideally, 3 years. In many cases, it's probably close to 2 years to work through as well. So if any of that was helpful or of interest, then connect with me on LinkedIn if you're not already connected. We also have a YouTube channel that we're building out with more videos, more FAQs, with podcasts on this topic and various other topics that I'm guest appearing on. And again, if it answers some of those questions or provides a bit more information on the process and some of the pitfalls and some of the challenges, it'll all be added into our YouTube channel as well. And also then we have a couple of guides. So if you would like a guide, and if you're watching live, then if you want to put in the comments, #live and request a guide, GUIDE, then I will send it across to you after this session. And if you're watching on replay, put in #replay guide, GUIDE. And again, then what I'll do, I'll send on the guide to you. And if you're very, very keen to speak to me, then we can book a discovery call or an initial discussion if necessary. So hopefully that was of some value, and hopefully I've changed your mind about planning or not planning for an exit one way or the other, or at least given you a few things to think about, to take away and think about, which would be great. So put some comments underneath the LinkedIn Live. And what I'll try and do is answer them. I can't actually see anything in front of me at the moment. So what I'll do is I'll finish the event now. And if I can see any comments underneath, what I'll try and do, I'll answer them straight after this, or I'll come back to you later on this afternoon and respond to your comments. So hopefully that was useful 20 or 30 minutes. Any questions, come back to me. I'll put the details below if you need to get a guide, or if you've got any particular questions, I'll deal with them afterwards. Okay, thank you very much.